Survey conquering Mega Eagle. Alright folks, how you doing? Okay, we're going to do some body work today on the dump truck of all things. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so this is just the tread plates I'm starting with. If you remember, that's why I made the dimpler for the here it is, for the tread plates and the pedals and things. I'd quite like to make a series of these dimplers, so I've got a few different diameters. Well, dimpling's my new favourite thing, you know. Yeah. Okay. Wish I'd got that corrosion off first, because it's going to be a bugger to get it off now. I'll put the dimples in. You can see where they're going now. It's probably starting to make a little bit more sense. This will be the first bit of the dump truck my boot touches, I suppose. And now onto the mud guards. These are going to be a pretty simple affair, just to keep, you know, the wet mud from firing up at my face. Still using this this big old folder that I made. I was going to make a smaller folder for exactly this, you know, something that would be able to do a radius as opposed to just a fold. Really, I want to make a press, like a fold, a break. That's what they're called, I think. Anyway, so this is a mud guard with 2 pieces of metal, as I'm sure you figured out. I want to make them smooth, because otherwise I'll be tearing my trousers open on them. There we go. That's roughly where they want to be anyway. Close enough's good enough. And I did weld them in place. I missed out the welding on the video. And this is the floor plate, I suppose. This has to be removable because the controls run under the floor. So this is just a cutout to miss the steering column, and I'm just putting a little bit of a fold on it to give it a bit of rigidity. There's another crease along the back as well there. Amazing how much little crease will stiffen a bit of metal up, isn't it? A bit of sheet metal. And that's just going in with self drillers. It'll come on and off quite a few times, I expect. Alright, now we're on to I still haven't decided what we're going to call this bit. It's the bit at the front, basically. keep the rain off my legs. Just putting an edge on it basically right now. Again, just to make it a nice stiff bit of metal rather than a flappy bit of sheet. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with this folder now, because I'm pretty much finished with it. I suppose I'll just leave it, and if I need it for scrap, then I'll cut it up, and if I don't, then I'll keep it to use as a folder again. But I've still got quite a lot more of that big 10mm structural steel, so it'll be a little while before I need it for the metal. Just putting a bit of radius on these edges, and then we're going to put the right angle to stand up, I suppose. And just gently tappy tap that around the corner. Got an angle finder that works. Bit of a flapper disc, and almost looks like a proper job, doesn't it? Okay, these are a couple of little brackets. I put those 2 uprights in. They're connected to the ends of the longerons on the chassis, and those brackets are just going to space this front panel off the uprights if I ever get it to stand up. I think you got the finger there. I'd never seriously gesticulate at a piece of metal just for the camera. I hope you appreciate that. Now we need a hole. Got my raincoat on. I never work in it, but for some reason I've got it on in the shed. Alright, so I wanted to call this one like Scammell or Foden or Thornycroft and that. You know, like a good strong name. But the missus wouldn't go for it. And the only classic commercial I was allowed to name him after was Morris. That's your name now, isn't it, young man? Hey, so we've got one of them. The lovely thing about Morris is there's still plenty of badges and stuff available on eBay. Like if I'd have gone down the Scammell route or Thornycroft, I probably would have struggled a bit more to find what are you looking at? Find a decent badge. Hey, check that out. Lovely! Look at that. What do you reckon, boy? Morris. Anyway, all full of wonder and amazement, aren't you? Hey, that won't last. Don't worry. Anyway, okay, so we've moved on. What was the last bit we did? Did the front, did the bottom, did the sides. And this is just to cover up the stop my feet getting tangled up in the belt with the constantly variable transmission, and keep the weather out of the engine bay as well, I suppose. So I've just got these 3 pieces of metal tacked in there. Just get them in the right place, and then I'll cut them back out of the chassis, put them on the bench, and make them nice. That was the idea. Seemed to work out reasonably well. There we go. It's out. Got welded. Now it's getting attacked with the flapper disc again. I'm such an idiot, you know. I always end up leaving the camera downstream of the grinder. It's how 50% of my cameras die. Yeah. And now we're just going to stick the finished panel permanently into the chassis. It's never coming out of there again. Okay, now we've just got to fill in a few gaps. This panel's obviously not intended to come out again, but the two panels either side of it, they have to be removable to access stuff. So this is the panel that's going around the forward reverse selector. I'm just putting a little bit of a flare on there to stop all the water dripping down into the hole. Just like that. Yeah. And obviously we've got a nice little raised bit around the shifter that, you know, stops it flapping around too much, puts a bit of strength in there, but also I'm hoping it will stop the water going down there quite so much as it would have done otherwise. But the seat covers the opening anyway. But the water in the seat's got to go somewhere, isn't it? So that's probably going to end up having holes drilled in it. And back on the folder, this is to cover up to the side. Is going to overhang a bit because the engine obviously protrudes a little bit, so I just want to keep the rain off the top of the engine. Can't enclose it completely because it's air cooled, and at the same time I want it easy to access for maintenance or starting, you know, cause it is only pull start, but you know, I just want to keep the worst of the weather off it, try and shield it from the howling winds we get. Okay, and these are couple of little brackets for the air filter. They looked a bit plain and boring, so obviously they got dimples. There's my missus's feet. I told her she's banned from the shed. Don't like women in the shed. They touch stuff, you know. I'd seen them have either the boys in there. They know they're not supposed to touch stuff and they behave themselves. Mrs. on the other hand, she never behaves herself. Probably nagging at me to do something. I don't know. I'm only messing, chaps. Yeah, you still see her toes there. Anyway, dimples in these bits. Didn't really need them, but you know, they look better with the dimples. I think you'll agree. Just going to put dimples in everything from now on. Yeah. I'm just bolting it on the bottom of the air filter, and you know, using that to get it in the right place to weld it onto the panel. That way you can't go wrong really, can you? Beats measuring stuff anyway, that's for sure, isn't it? Eh? Here we go. And then, literally, as soon as I'd finished doing this, my bit of silicone hose for joining the air filter to the carburetor arrived, so I could actually figure out where I needed to put a hole for the silicone hose, which was handy. There we go, all done. Alright, last little job. Just getting underneath the tin bed. Got cross membrane. Could have just left it there, I suppose, but wanted to join the top and bottom rails together, and whatever I did have to add to Mr. Prop shaft, so it was easy just to join the top rails together and then join the top and bottom rails on each side together. And we'll do that with a few nice folded pieces to, you know, get a bit of extra strength in there at no added weight penalty. You see that in the background, she's in the shed again. Cheeky. Yeah, here those uprights. Very nice, nice and strong. Okay, look at my lovely dump truck then, folks. What an absolute gem. So I did really enjoy myself with this tin work. I do like mild steel's a bit of a change for me. Like I'm normally buggering around with sheet alley, and what it's not quite so predictable as mild steel. You know, especially the tough aluminiums, it cracks and stuff when you're just getting it to where you want it. It will go and crack or something silly like that. But yeah, this is fine. You can crease it with a chisel, can't you? Which you probably shouldn't do on an aluminium and stuff. And what? So we put the floor in, covered up all the steering gear. We've got the nice tread plates there, so I don't go arse over tit when I'm getting onto it and it's all covered in mud. Obviously got the mud guards, got the lovely I don't know what we're going to call this bit. I suppose it's to keep the rain off your legs when you're going at 50 mile an hour. Brum, bum, 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 bum. We got some covers for the engine, a lovely bit of a recess there for the knob. Both sides covered up. Got the surround for the forward reverse selector, and the cover for the engine there, and air filter mounted under the seat, so that should keep that out of the rain, but also it's nice and high up, so it should keep the worst of the dust out of it. I've not actually connected it up, but I've made a hole there, and that's the route the silicon hose is going to take her to get down to the carburetor. And I put a cross member in here. I am probably going to put something else in, another cross member at this point going across. But the reason I didn't do these bits when it was when I was building the chassis up was because I wasn't quite sure where the prop shaft would run. So I did the prop shaft after I built the chassis, and well, obviously I suppose wasn't sure on clearance, but I know where I've got clearance there on the bottom now. It would be nice to have a plate on the bottom just to stop mud coming up and into the engine bay. I've got to leave this back open because obviously we're an air-cooled engine, and it's got to breathe, isn't it? So I'm going to have to leave a big open space at the back. But the main thing is keeping the bulk of the moisture off the engine, because this will have to live outside when it's done. Unfortunately, I wish I had a big barn and I could park it away after putting all this work into it, but it should be fairly solid. I've not used anything too light. There's no real light gauge metal here, so I'm going to obviously give it a massive coat of paint, nice thick bit of red oxide, and then a top coat. But what? Yeah, and because nothing's too thin, even if it does get a bit of a scrape and start rusting, it's not gonna just disintegrate immediately. This is all relatively thick gauge, 1.5mm mild steel. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Next time you see this thing, I'll show you the painting and the reassembly. I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a shakedown, but next video I do, you will see me driving around on this little dump truck. Whether or not it's all together and I've got the hydraulics working is a different matter. I've not actually tried the homemade hydraulics. It could be that it doesn't work. I mean, I've not actually tried the drivetrain, to be honest, but I've got no real doubts for that. Worst that'll need is a bit of fettling, but yeah, the hydraulics might need a bit of a reshuffle, but I'm sure we can make it work one way or t'other. Okay, so that's that. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really have. I really do like just letting rip with a bit of sheet steel. Yeah, Morris. Okay, so to come back next time, we'll do something nice with the paint. I was going to put a bit of sign writing on it just for fun. Got to get some gold paint for that. Yeah, I've got the paint for the rest of it. I'm not going to tell you what colour it is because I've been chatting with a lot of you in in the comments, and we'll leave that till the next video. Alright, okay, take it easy folks, bye bye.